I wouldn't know where the heck to start. Oh, look at you. We figured it
All
out.
right. Hello,
Got
everybody.
it.
We got it. All right. So we are here with the amazing Amy McLaurin. She's going to talk about her business and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to let Amy take it away and I'll be monitoring the chat. Thank you, Amy.
How long do I have is the first question that I'm going to ask.
Ma'am, whatever you need.
Okay. Well, I'll try not to take forever. I wrote it down. I was really proud of myself. I actually, like, today kind of was like, you know what?
Yep.
I need to keep this as simple as I can. Okay. So, hi guys, my name is Amy and I am director of Wax Nerds. And if y'all like my face and you like the way I talk and I'm maybe one of the leaders that you're interested in, I have a YouTube. Go find it or just message me. Because one of the things that I literally tell my team all the time is if I'm not the leader that you want to learn from, you're not going to be successful. You're not. You need to go find the people that attract you, the people that give you the energy you want, and the people that motivate you. We're not here to motivate you. And I know we can't motivate people, but you can motivate yourself. And if there are certain people in your life that make you feel like you need that push, go find them. That's what I tell my people all the time. So with that being said, Shay asked me a couple weeks ago if I would hop on here and talk to you guys. And I was like, oh gosh, about what? And she was like, I don't remember how we got to talking about it, but we kind of got to talking about like why we joined and the differences of how both of our businesses have totally done two different things. Like we work our businesses totally different. She joined and then kind of like yo-yoed some and did like things shifted in her life to where Cincy wasn't always up front. And so now that she's come back, she's like freaking full force. She's going to hit star consult or star director sometime. I give her 6 months. So with that being said, she was like, I don't think I've ever really heard your story. And I was like, girl, I don't really have a story. But then it kind of dawned on me. So I'm going to kick it back to SFR this year, because that is when I met Shay in person, like truly got like a real first hug. And we met each other last year, I think. And I think she was at World Tour and I know she was at Chloe's last year at World Tour. So we met each other, but we didn't get to know each other until like right before Cincy Family Reunion. So I'm going to take it back to Cincy Family Reunion, because if you haven't already registered for World Tour, you need to. Because it is amazing and you get to meet people. And that was what SFR was this past year. We hadn't really had an in-person event since I joined. So that was like the first real one that I felt like I would like really took from. So again, I'm going to sit here for maybe 30 minutes and try to keep y'all not too long. So I don't know how many times y'all have heard this, but how many leaders tell you find your story? I hear that all the time. What is your why? And find your story. Our speaker for SFR, her name was Amy Purdy. She is a silver Olympic ski earner. I think silver. Oh gosh, I'm going to hate myself later. But she has a whole story. She told us her entire story. She walked around stage, walked. When I say walk, she doesn't have her from knees down. She doesn't have legs. So like she has prosthetic legs, and she told her whole story, and it was amazing and wonderful. And then later that day, I was in one of the breakouts for like 30 minutes. And I'm not going to mention the superstar director's name because at the moment, I don't want to. I'll tell you if you want me to tell you later, but we go in, we sit down, and some of the rooms had tables and some of the rooms just had like rows of chairs. This was a rows of chairs because we were going to listen to a story. And I did. I was like, oh my gosh, what kind of story am I going to have to listen to now? And I did because I was just like, I don't relate to a lot of people's stories. And I'm going to tell you why. In a second. So she tells her story about how she was married young. Her husband was in the military. He got new assignment out in like Germany. They were out there. She was from the US. So she's having to revamp her whole Cincy business by moving out there. And Her husband was out on a job or a mission. It depends on what branch of military you're in, based on the terms. But something traumatic extremely happened to him, and she had to pick up the pieces. He lived, but they didn't think he was going to. So she had to pick up the pieces, and she had to pick up her Scentsy business, and she had to do all the things. So she ends her story, super inspirational. But somebody, when it was time for questions and conversation, somebody raised their hand, and they asked, what if I don't have a sob story? And I was like, oh, but it was my question too, just not in those words. It was more like, what if I don't have a story where someone's terminally ill or someone has died, or, what if I don't? I have been blessed in my life that I haven't had to. When my husband and I first started dating, they'll never there, 6 months into our relationship, I think maybe a year into our relationship, his dad was diagnosed with cancer. But I wasn't doing Scentsy at the time. And that changed my life in a different way. But that's been 10 years ago, which is great. He's doing great. He's cancer free. But I was like, I don't really have any of that. And I started I remember sitting there, like listening to the superstar director's response was, that's an amazing blessing in your life. And maybe that alone is your story, that you've had so many blessings in your life. And Scentsy just the cherry on top. Like her response was great. Because I'd have been like, I don't know what to say. So when I went home, I remember leaving like Scentsy family reunion, still like, I don't know what my story is. The tag for Scentsy and what you saw everywhere for Scentsy family reunion is, what is Scentsy, or Scentsy is. And I'm going to try to remember to answer that question at the end for you. So, I left, I hopped on the plane, I came home, and I went back to the same thing I had been doing before I left. My daughter went to preschool, my husband went to work. I came up here with my cup of coffee and I sat down with Scentsy. But it wasn't always like that. So I want to make sure I'm keeping up with it. Keeping up with my list, y'all. So I joined in 2019 because I don't know why. Because I always ask, why'd you join? I was like, because I'm broke and I need money, duh. But not everybody joins for that reason. Not everybody joins for that. So she was not quite 2. She would turn 2 in December. So I joined in September. And we were literally like scraping to the next paycheck, like not even $10 left in our bank account. And my first Scentsy paycheck paid for Christmas, which that had never happened. And then the next paycheck paid like the car payment, which was nice. That was extra that I didn't have to come up with somewhere. So each month it paid for something. Each month it changed. January slapped everybody in the face and COVID hit the US. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm new with Scentsy. I've only been doing Scentsy for like 5 months. I had one teammate that totally did not. We lived like 10 minutes from each other, y'all. She didn't do Scentsy. It wasn't her thing. She joined, she loved the products, but it just didn't register for her. Doesn't mean it won't later, but for her, it just didn't. So I didn't want to invest a lot of time into her because I, as a leader, didn't want to bombard her. So January comes along, we've got COVID, and I was like, okay, I don't know how to do this anymore. Like, I don't know how to do this. And I didn't even hit active in December. I think I put money into my Scentsy in December. I bought a bunch of fragrance flowers, and I was like, I'm just going to have a bunch of ladies come to the house and we're going to color fragrance flowers. We're going to have a fragrance flower coloring party. There's an idea if you need it. It works really well. And I told myself, if I get active in January without putting money into my business, I'll stick it out. But if I don't, then this just isn't for me. I got active. And then the next month we went to World Tour in Raleigh. That was the first real event. When I talk about SFR, I talk about SFR because I was so new in 2020 at World Tour. I knew who Chloe was, but I didn't know enough about her to know who she was in person. I didn't know. So I I took my husband, I drug him along to Raleigh and said, please come with me, come stay with me. In our picture, Shay, if you were at that world tour, go look at that picture. I'm totally by myself in that picture. I'm like off to the side in my little bubble because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. But I wanted to be there. I wanted to feel like I was meant to be there. So I was like, I need to figure something out. I need to figure it out. So then Sonic Boom hits you. If y'all have been here at all since 2020 or even the beginning of last year, Cincy has like the charts of insaneness is what Cincy has been for everybody. It keeps seeing me raise my hand, so it keeps telling me that. So we all went to online parties. We didn't do bag parties because nobody wanted to touch anything. So we went to online parties. We went to like all virtual Zoom calls, but I built a team during that time. I went from a certified consultant to a superstar consultant in 3 months. It was insane. That can still be your life. That can still totally happen. But I remember at that time, people were like, that doesn't happen. All these new people coming in and hitting superstar consultant in no time is crazy. I was 300 GWV off that October from hitting director. But as much as my focus was hitting director, my focus was why. Told y'all were going to get some mom facial expressions. What?
Hey, HG.
Bless, y'all kids are creepy. You are beautiful, but you are creepy. Did y'all see her come up here at all? Or did it just because I'm a mom? Or I'm her mom. Okay, you got to go back in your room. Love you. So anyway, I was like wanting to hit director, but believe it or not, at that time, I was furloughed from my company that I had been working for. And so I was sitting at home collecting unemployment because they made us, because we had to pay our insurance. And I was like, I'm making money while I'm at home. I don't want to go back to work. Like the selfishness, holy smacks. Y'all, my mental health, I did not realize how drained and how exhausted I was until they furloughed me and they put me at home. And I told my husband, I cried, y'all. I cried so hard the day I had to go back to work. That morning, he was like, I don't know what to tell you, but the mental breakdown, I don't know how to handle this. And he's great about handling me, but that was like the worst he had ever seen. I went back to work for 3 days. Pick number 3, my lord, for 3 days. And then we went to the beach for a week. And I cried almost every day at the beach. I got sick too, but I cried. I was like, I just don't want to go. I don't want to go. My husband was like, listen, let's sit down and let's look at the budget. Let's figure it out. And it turns out that I had been paying the mortgage for 3-ish consecutive months. This was in August. He was like, if you can pay the mortgage for the rest of the year, like, not that I needed his permission, because Aaron's always been like, do what you want to do, quit. I don't care. I was the one that was scared to quit. He had to put it in my brain. If you can cover the mortgage, you're fine. I don't know why you're stressing. Baby, you bring home more money doing this than you do your full-time job. We'll just keep our daughter, Haven, at home. And I left my full-time job 2 days before Thanksgiving that year because I had already hit 2K by mid-November. So I knew with group numbers and everything, I was going to make the mortgage payment beyond the mortgage payment. So it dawned on me one day last week. I don't remember, but I was like, I don't really have a story. But then it's like, I don't have a story about an illness or someone dying or a tragic accident that anybody is impaired or I don't have a child with a disability. And I don't want to put that out there as all the negative things. I don't want it to be that way because I know that I would love a child no matter what. I would love my husband no matter what. But that push to make Cincy work for something, I thought that I needed something like that to make it work. And that wasn't the case. I just needed to see that I was happier home, happier with my family. Y'all, my mental health, I put on some LB since being home, don't get me wrong, but my mental health is totally different. I get to see my daughter more, and I get to spend more time and get to do things that I want to do. I get to come up here with my cup of coffee and sit and play with samples and text people like, hey, I hope you love your snail goods. What's going on? So it wasn't until literally a couple weeks ago that I never did fill out what Scentsy is to me. I never filled it out. I think I wrote freedom because I was like, that seems like the word. But believe it or not, Scentsy is my story. Like, I didn't really think about that until the other day. But yes, I'm married happily. Yes, I have a almost 5-year-old. She's my baby. She's my baby. And I have another one on the way. Absolutely. Yes, I have a beautiful home. Yes, I have all these things. And I'm a mom. That does define me. I'm a wife. That does define me. But there's so many things that define us that sometimes I just realize that Scentsy is maybe what saved my marriage. We were not always the happiest. There was times where we were, especially as new parents, when you're fresh, you've got a little baby you're trying to take care of. You're trying to take care of your body. You're trying to take care of your relationships. You're trying to make sure you're going to work on time. There's just a lot that goes into it that sometimes it dawned on me that I always say this, Scentsy saved my life. I know that some people may think that that's really dramatic, but it's true. So I never thought I would be the leader that would say, you need to find your why and your story, but you do. And you need to be consistent with it. Your why is not always going to be consistent. Y'all, I joined to pay my student loan payment. That was what I joined for, not to pay a mortgage payment, but to pay my little student loan payment just to get the government off my back. I joined because we were broke, not to stay at home. That wasn't at all the thought process when I joined. So after, like, when you can talk about it on here too, obviously, but what made you join? What made you join? And how does that look now? Have you been with Scentsy for a few years? Because my stuff looks totally different than it did when I first joined. My idea of life looks totally different than it did when I first joined. Now, I just wanted to go to the grocery store and not have to worry about my card getting declined, which has happened before multiple times. Also, I don't have it up here. Dang it. Will you go downstairs and get a wax bar for me?
A what?
Never mind. What was the wax bar when you joined? What the month that you joined? What was the wax bar of the month that month? Because that is something else that slaps me in the face every year. Every year, Perfect Pumpkin Pear was the wax bar of the month when I joined. And I'm not a pumpkin girl. I'm one of the ones that doesn't care for pumpkin. It is so good. And every time I smell it, it reminds me of when I first joined. I was just like, oh. And y'all, there were days that I sat in front of my house in the freezing cold weather after my daughter would go to bed and just stare at my house, because there have been times in my life I've prayed for the exact life that I live now. And I know you see a lot of leaders and a lot of people say that, but it is true. And you may not be in a season that you've prayed for. You may be a season that you're praying to get out of. And I get that too. I totally get that. And there are things that are inevitable that Scentsy can't necessarily fix for us, but Scentsy can be the vessel for us to show and incorporate others into our life to be their blessing, and they may be your blessing that you need. So what was the wax bar? Y'all, put that, if it's still available, put that wax bar in your Scentsy club. Get it. Use that as your reminder. Use that as your story on your stories when you're changing out your wax and you're using that wax bar. Every time I talk about Perfect Pumpkin Pear, I literally say, oh, this is such an amazing bar. It's just the bar that I had when I first joined Scentsy, and I'm obsessed. How does your Scentsy business look now? Like I said, when I first joined Scentsy, I didn't hate my full-time job. The dislike for the job didn't actually come until after I had my daughter. And it wasn't my daughter. It was just things in the company shifted that just were not good for me. But I worked a full-time job. I had just moved into a house. I had just moved in. Well, not moved into the house, but I felt like I had. We had lived here for like a year and some change. But we had a little girl, like we had a little kid that we had to take care of. And I was like, how the heck am I supposed to do this and take care of a kid, and a husband and a home and my job? And it worked out. So, and now, I mean, like I said, now I'm home. Now, not what I expected. I never meant for that to ever be the reality of things, but since he did, God did. If you've been with Cincy for a few years and it's not where you want it to be, start over. Start over. When was the last time you had a launch party? We should be having launch parties every catalog season, but when was the last time you had a launch party? If it's not where you want it to be, throw out a launch party and just say, I don't feel like I share Cincy enough, and I want to let people love on it. Let me know if you want to come. Let me know if you need me to send you samples, or, send out party packs. Message 10 people and just say, hey, girlfriend, I've got a lot going on right now, but I really want to spoil some people with some Cincy. I've got some party packs I've put together. Do you want one with a private link? Just like those types of things really do. If your story isn't what you want it to be, change it. Change it. I mean, we can change our story, because let me tell you, mine was not what I wanted it to be 3 years ago. So, but that's what I felt like I needed to tell you guys and talk about, was you don't have to have, there doesn't always need to be something negative or something crazy or something pushing you to do Cincy because you feel like it's the only way. Find the fun in Cincy. Find that happiness again. Find it, because you want to talk about Cincy. You want to talk about it. You want to spoil people. You want people to see what it's doing for you. And it took me a while to get that. It really did, because I was like, I like to talk to people, but I got to be in the mood, and I'm pregnant. So alcohol is not the option. So like, there are times that I'm just like, oh, I really want to talk to you guys, but I may not have the best facial expressions today. So like, but with Cincy, like, everybody that tells me, they're like, when you talk about Cincy, you get so excited. And I was like, well, yeah, because it's my passion, other than my daughter. So, find it. It's there. It's there. I think that's all I have. Do you have questions? Was there anything in the chat? Because I totally didn't.
No, I was gonna give it a second.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, you're good. And then I was also gonna chime in, because yes. Yes, that part. But since he is, that was the thing you said you wanted to go back and say. Since he is what, like,
Cincy
from SFR, like, that was the terminology.
Yes. My story. Cincy is my story. I was like, what was it?
Yeah, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. Cincy is my story.
Yeah.
I mean, it totally changed my life. And, my husband's job has changed too. Other things have changed in our life, but I just don't think that I would have had the confidence and the belief in our life if it wasn't for Cincy. If I was working the other job I was working, my boss was very much like, you're not going to be able to go anywhere. Like, he was very much like, while you're here, you're on my time. Dude, you don't own this company. What is wrong with you? So I had to get away from that. That's toxic. If you have a boss like that, like, tell them you're toxic, because you better believe I told him that. I told him I don't want to talk to him ever again. I deleted his number out of my phone. Made sure he could not call me.
Yep, won't even play with it. No. And I think it's really important, because like, it is okay if you do have those whys that are like the life-changing, life-altering, like, serious whys, but not everybody does. Like, and that's huge, because like, y'all, this ain't my first go around with Cincy. I talk about this all the time. It's not my first go around with Cincy. And even when I joined back, I did a lot better than I did before, but I had to keep putting it on the back burner because I was juggling life until every sign pointed to Cincy. Like, every sign specifically was like, Cincy is what it like has to be for you. And that was one of the biggest things when I was at my crossroads back in December of last year. It's crazy to think about, like, the decision of me leaving teaching was almost a year ago. It was legit. Like, I know. I mean, I left in May, but like the decision happened in December. Like it
Yeah.
was a whole conversation with my friend, and she's like, "What brings you happiness?" Because the one thing I think every time that you light up is Scentsy.
Yeah.
Like Scentsy is your story. Scentsy can be so powerful. Like this smells. Like I don't know what my scent was whenever I first joined. I know my favorite scents though, because my nose is picky, y'all.
Yeah. Stick those in your club then. Like,
Yep.
yeah, talk about that.
Yeah. So
I just
blueberry
happen to
rush.
have a good one. Don't get me wrong. If warm drizzled pumpkin or whatever had been that one, I'd have been like, we can't handle that. Give me candy. I couldn't handle those. And
Yeah.
others loved it. Ugh.
Me over here will like, give me candy, give me candy.
I know. I think you
them.
told me, send me the bars. I was like, girl, I'm gonna vomit. I was in my first trimester and I was over here like, whoa, I can't handle this one.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
My two are blueberry rush and citrus pop. And I was able to get blueberry rush into my club because it came back with a bring back my bar. But, and my team knows that when y'all were here during the last voting thing, like we tried to get citrus pop back so I could add it to my club, because I literally have a bar of citrus pop and half a room spray that I won't use.
Yeah, you won't touch it.
Because that scent literally, it brings me back to when I first joined Scentsy. Those were the scents. I didn't have a warmer or a scent of the month, but those were my scents of, oh my God, I gotta have this all the time.
Oh yeah, they didn't always do warmer of the month or
Mm-mm.
scent of the month. Yeah, they didn't always do that, right? I kind of forget that. I've only been here for 3 years, y'all. I just had my 3 year in September, but it feels like forever. And then other days it feels like I remember sitting on the couch. Like my sponsor was a daycare mom, and she had done a fundraiser, which I also find ironic because I'm in the middle of a fundraiser with my daughter's preschool. That I set up. I'm actually very proud. It's done okay, but I need to like bump it up. But I messaged her like all these questions, and she was great. She answered them. Like, don't get me wrong, she answered them. She helped me out and everything, but I hit go on that, and I got like the "you joined Scentsy" email or whatever, and I literally like cried and then went to bed. What did I just do to myself? I have an almost 2-year-old. My birthday is next month. Our anniversary is in November. Her birthday is in December. I have all this stuff going on. What did I just do to myself? So I get that.
Yeah. And I was scared to come back for a third time. I think Adam really like had to talk me into it because we had just purchased this house, and most people didn't know, like when we were in the middle of purchasing this house, I was, for one, a couple months before that, I was working on Campaign Life, and then I sold my soul to work on another campaign, and I was in Maine, and I was like, I can't do this because y'all know me. I'm very adamant. Like what I believe in is what I believe in. I can't help it. Amy tells me all the time, I don't like talking about politics. Okay, Amy, but
and then she'll be like, da 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 da. I'm like, I know. I'm not good with the research part of it, so I know that my true opinions are like based on like they're based on opinion, not all fact.
Yeah.
So that's why I know. I'm like, I don't. Yeah.
But it's totally okay. But when I came back, COVID hit. Like I decided to leave that job in COVID. Like Adam was like, you were working 7 days a week, 12, 16 hours a day. Like you can take 2 to 3 weeks. And all of a sudden there was COVID. And then I got a job at Walmart because I couldn't get into teaching because everybody was going virtual again. And I got into a car accident in the middle of us purchasing this house. Oh. And we were sitting outside on our little back porch, and I was watching one of Chloe's stories because I would just like pop on there and watch it every now and then. And Chloe was always my superstar director, but never my sponsor. I was like, yeah, I really do miss selling it. He's like, why don't you do it? And I was like, because I didn't really do that good the first couple of times. Like, and back then, if you didn't sell 200 PRV in like 3 or 4 months, like you got, versus now it's 12 months.
You got booted.
Yeah, you got booted, which I got booted each time. Okay, let's just put point blank period. And I texted Chloe and I was like, okay, let's do this. And I sat down, and when I tell you I watched Guide to Growth, like I know a lot of leaders have tried to kind of deter away from Guide to Growth, and now we have Get Your Head in the Game.
Both are amazing programs. I know Guide to Growth has certain leaders that weren't in Get Your Head in the Game. Like Getting Your Head in the Game is more intimate, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very one-on-one. It's
to the game. EA Sports.
With it. y'all.
But I definitely like, I think you can learn from both of those, but it really comes down to like whatever you put into consistency is what you make it. And it always comes down to like consistency. Like when I say consistency is key, like if you don't show up every single day in your VIP page, why will your customers show up when you're at that little crunch, about to hit that incentive, like about to, get that bonus, hit the end of the month goals. So there's like a lot of things that come into it, but whenever you're ready to make Scentsy your everything, yeah, it will flow.
It will. And I can tell when I first got pregnant, I was sick. Not, I wish I could get rid of it, but like I was just sitting on food. Like the food would just sit there. Get rid of the food, not the baby, the food. And I remember like there was one day my husband came home and I was laying in bed and I was just staring at the ceiling. He's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I literally am so nauseous that if I move, I'm spinning." I can tell that I didn't work Scentsy consistently all the time. And I still recruited 2 people that month and I still hit pretty decent numbers. I'm not sure I quite hit 2K, which is very rare for me. I hit 2K every month. That's a goal. That's like the minimum in my opinion. But I can tell because my joint conversations dwindled down because that was for everybody. Everybody tells me joint conversations are the hardest. Very rarely do I get somebody that's like, "Oh, those are easy." But if you're not consistent with them and you're not keeping up with your conversations and keeping up with who you asked and how long it's been and what their responses were, like, because your brain forgets stuff. It just does. So like if you haven't talked to Sarah since June, and maybe in June Sarah was going through something that she mentioned to you, but you kind of forgot, and you talked to her, you text her today, and you'll remember what it was. Heavens forbid, but say somebody was ill in her family and you text them like, "Hey girl, I've been thinking about you. I hope everything's going okay. How is so-and-so?" And the response to her is, "They passed away." Like that didn't happen to me, but like those drastic things can be the reality of it. And if you're not consistent with it and you're not keeping up with it, I was there a couple months ago. It was rough. I was like, "Oh, I need to pick this back up."
Yeah. And I think, and like I've been hitting hard on for months, like it really goes down to partying, like, cause that's where you're going to get those joint conversations, like where you get those people to have those joint conversations with, build your VIP page. And like, it's funny when I go in and I look at like my VIP page, sometimes like I'll look at my members and I'll see like invited by, and I didn't even know like my customers were inviting people to my VIP page, but they were. There's new interaction, new people. So it's a lot, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah. Keep up with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I started recording new customers each month. So I know how many new customers I'm getting each month from parties. And once I started I think that was my tipping point, is when I started being more intentional with the new customers I was getting. It was easier for me to also follow up with those people. Okay, like, so now I need to go back and look at my new customers in September and be like, "Hey, let's party." Like, let's get your next order for free and half off, like Coco says. So, and 100%, like I met Amy at World Tour. It wasn't the same your first World Tour.
No, it was the one at Chloe's house.
Yeah, it was the one
we
at
were
Chloe's
standing
house.
next to what was supposed to be the heater, and it ran out of propane, and we were like, "That's blowing cold air. This is
and
miserable."
We're still standing beside it no matter what, because
no matter what, because we just started imagining it's warm. It's warm.
Yep, I was like, the more we talk and huddle together, we'll warm it up, like 100%. So no, Amy's amazing. I remember when I first like got to see her at SFR.
Yeah.
She's been my and I feel like it's really important to find people, like, because even though Amy, you're underclow, you're not like first gen, or you're like second or third, right?
She's my superstar director, but she's not my sponsor.
Yeah,
we have my sponsor is a director.
Got you. So it's good to find those people outside, like to a certain extent, like outside the whole like immediate, which is what Amy kind of opened up with. Like, if you're not learning from me, that's totally okay. Go find somebody else. Like, and I'll help you find somebody else. Like, tell me where you want to learn in, And I'll tell you, I will get up with the directors. I'll get up with Chloe and be like, who would be the best fit for this? Not to say that I don't love y'all. And of course I want to coach y'all and mentor y'all, but I mean, it's true. And not only that, by looking at other leaders, you get different ideas.
Right. We only have so much in here that we can pour out to our people. I tell my team that all the time. Y'all, I have 53 people on my team. I think there's 7 people active so far. And, I asked them, like, what can I do better? Is there anything that I could show you guys? And their response is always, I just need help with PRV. And I'm like, okay, PRV is a dead horse, poor little horse, because there's only so much we can do. It really does come down to what leader is finally going to get in here. It takes 7 times of hearing, reading, seeing something to finally be like, oh, well, that clicked. So yeah, go find your people. It's okay to think outside of the group.
And I think that's super important because you even opened with saying like Amy and I work our businesses very differently, very differently. Like I definitely rely heavily on my VIP page and my online parties. Like I don't do a lot of local orders. I don't she's doing this really cute thing that I want to do if I can ever find time in between all these papers I got to write, because I got one to do tonight. Y'all, it's Monday night. Y'all already know. But they're cinnagrams, or what are you calling them?
Candygrams.
Candygrams.
I put it away. Here, I'll show you. Hold on. I put one away. I have a couple of things. Candygrams, and I kind of took Chloe's idea with the recipe, but instead of I don't like pumpkin, so instead of pumpkin, this is my Scentsy Club love now. It's a scent circle with something cute attached to it. Y'all, budget. I'm on a budget. I got a baby on the way, but anyway, Candygram is it's a candy cane. I was like, where's the candy cane with a scent circle? And it just says something, the little card will say something like, I hope you love this gift as much as your person loves you. And then on behalf of, and I'll put the person that sent them the candygram.
Yeah. And you're trying to get them to do 6, right, at a time. And do you give it to them, or are you going to do local orders for that, where you drop it off personally to each person?
It'll be mailed. Be mailed with a butterfly stamp. It can go straight into a white envelope or a clear envelope. And then you can just put the scent circle and the candy cane together and then tape it, and you can put a butterfly stamp right on it.
Do you think, so this is why I'm asking this, because my mom worked in the post office. So with those envelopes, they put them through
not the bubble, the butterfly stamp is non-machinable.
Where do you get these? Amy, I need you to send this to me. You were saying butterfly stamp, and I was just thinking Scentsy butterfly,
No, and of course they're downstairs. I keep them in my car because it never fails. I get to the post office and I'm like, son of a biscuit, I left the stamps at home. So I kept them in my car. But you can go in the post office and say, hey, I just need a sheet of butterfly stamps. And they'll literally say yellow or purple.
Purple.
And I think they're 98 cents. A sheet is $20. It's 19. And it's 25 stamps. It's not terrible. It's about $1 an envelope, but I mean, it's been working for me. And people are getting their candy canes and they're not broken. That was my thing. Oh, I hope these don't get broken.
Yeah, that was that's why when you said that and I saw that envelope, I was like, wait, post office, Amy.
No, butterfly stamp. Or you can do a clear envelope. I don't know if I have one that's loose, but you can do a clear envelope and just stick it in there and fold it and but yeah, butterfly stamps, non-machinable.
See, that's cool. I didn't know that.
So yeah, I have to keep postage cheap, y'all. I do giveaways, but even my giveaway I did last week was one of the bracelets from the flash sale that cost $1.50 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I have to keep it super cheap, y'all, because
And that's another thing. If y'all want to learn how to do and I don't like to share Happy Mail. I know, Paula, you commented on my club mail the other day, and I don't like to share my Happy Mail because, for one, I've been doing this for a while. I've accrued a lot of things. For two, I do have a lot of high sales. So that's how I get all my stuff free and half off. And I don't want people to see what I'm doing and think, oh my gosh, I got to buy all these supplies in order to make it
right.
So honestly, if y'all want to follow somebody on a budget and work in their business, Amy's your girl. I'll be, and I don't mean that in a bad way. No, Amy, literally Adam and I sat down and did our budget today, and this might be too much information that's going on YouTube. This is yellow. But he was like, so how much are you spending in Cincy? And I'm like, I don't know.
That's for me to know and you to never find out.
Well, we had to do the budget today. Like, so it was like us coming together, and I was like, I don't know. And I'm like, Amy's probably got it budgeted to the T, like how much she spends here and there. And I'm like over here, like, I know the warmer of the month is about $100. My monthly club is about $200. Now,
no,
girl, I know I gotta tweak that.
I know. Mine's every 3 months, and every time it like emails me, I forward it to Aaron so that he knows, hey, let's go hit the account in a couple days or no, a couple weeks. And he's like, $100 on wax bars. And I'm like, listen, they're not just wax bars. They're like, listen.
They're live. But
And y'all need to get the warmer of the month. You need to get the warmer of the month for next month, because it's got that light mechanism, the new light piece. We need to all know how to touch and feel and deal with that. Because from what I understand, I think Dan and Lacey said warmers are now going to come, like they're not going to come together. You have to put that together. That's what I understood.
And I think it's going to be a slow transition with the catalog items, like slowly moving. Like they're going to get rid of the stuff that we, of course, have in stock. And they're going to start transitioning to that. But no, that's a really good point. Like for warmer of the month, unless it's like one of those few that I'm like, I gotta have it. I also use those as a giveaway. That's a tax write-off. Those bars go for my club people. My club people get those bars, and I have to go in and order more bars, because I think that's another thing I need to train on, but I really want to focus on like recruiting right now. But club, y'all, my club averages about $600 to $900 because you know the months vary. So that's club is where I get a lot of my sales from. On those days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a sale in a day or two, and I'm like, oh, somebody's club came out.
Let me see if the clubs are gonna come out yet.
Yep.
I actually pretty much every month, my 500 comes from other stuff. But if I say something tragic was happening and something crazy was happening, or I just couldn't work Cincy and I got no sales, Cincy Club, most of the time I would still hit 500 by the 15th.
Yeah.
That was one of my goals, like last year or earlier this year.
I don't know if mine is 500 by the 15th, not me like going to look right now. But that is actually a really good goal that I think I need to establish, because I do have a lot that are in the middle of the month, but I do also have a lot more that are at the end of the month.
My goal has always been, I'm over 500 a month now. Now my goal is to hit 1,000 in Cincy Club, because Chloe did the training about like how to get 3K in Cincy Club alone. And I was like, I need to get there. But I have a lot of people that just aren't willing to dedicate the auto draft aspect of it. Does that make sense? Like people are like, I don't always have money in that account, and I don't always have enough money on my credit card for this. So
no, I hate subscriptions, and I think that's what I need to start talking about, because last month I didn't have any clubbers, which is really surprising, because I always hit it out of the park with my I always exceed my 2 to 3 goal. And or when I say clubbers, new club members. So for when I hate subscriptions, you can ask my husband. Like, if I don't care if I save $5 to $10 with the auto draft, I will not do that.
We don't do it either, except Cincy Club.
Huh?
Except Cincy Club.
Except Cincy Club, like Cincy.
But they remind you. They tell you, hey, we're taking this out this day, girl. Y'all.
She just snuck up on you.
I mean,
she's looking around like, y'all got any snacks? Hey, HD.
Oh, y'all.
She
my bump's in the way.
I haven't seen
still
your
talking.
Bump, but
I'll stand up in a minute.
Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording though real quick.
Okay.
Because I didn't realize.